Hello, hello guys.
How are you?
What about that audience right there?
Oh my goodness, yes, yes! Love that.
It's different, right? I mean, it's not the first time you especially is in Brazil.
Yeah.
What about that time to see that audience all in Comic-Con experience?
No, this is fantastic. We did Comic-Con in San Diego. Yeah. And this is like, I hear it's 60,000 people bigger.
Yeah, I don't want to compare, but the energy here is better than anything we've seen in San Diego. It's incredible.
Yeah, we're very happy. This is my first time in Sao Paulo also. I've been to Rio, but this is my first time here.
So cool. Let's talk about Bright. You guys are going to the panel in like, I don't know, a few minutes. Yep. The people in there are watching the movie right now. It's the world premiere of Bright, right?
Yep.
And Bright seems to be a movie that can mix fantasy and a cop movie, right, David? What can you tell us about the movie? I mean, of that mixture, what can you tell about that?
It's a genre mashup. You know, it's a little bit different than a lot of stuff we've seen, but it's also kind of old school in a way because it's like a cop buddy movie. You know, the relationship these guys have on screen is absolutely incredible, and that's the fun of the movie.
Now, that's what I loved about it when I first read it. You know, the relationship these two guys have. Joel plays the first orc on the Los Angeles police force. So it's like gritty, you know, it has that old school David Ayer, gritty Los Angeles flavor, but there's orcs and fairies. I always say it's a kind of a mashup if you imagine Training Day with a mashup with Lord of the Rings.
Jeez.
Yeah, so it's kind of like
that's
that.
A good mix.
Yeah.
That's a good mix. So, Joe, it seems to be that your character have a funny side too. He's an orc, but he has a kind of a good sense of humor. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I think it's funny because my character doesn't have a sense of humor.
Doesn't have any.
It just doesn't understand irony or wit or sarcasm, and so it's the miscommunication between Will's character and my character that creates a bit of the humor.
Do not wink at me like that.
And I'm very, very straight, conservative, and I'm an orc.
Cool. So you were talking about Los Angeles. It seems that the city itself, it's kind of a character too in the movie. I mean, is that right to say?
Yeah, I grew up in Los Angeles, and you know, we shot in some of the neighborhoods I lived in and hung out in and grew up in, and it's very much about the city. But we added this layer of what would it be like if there were elves and fairies and magic and a lot of the problems we see today, but the extreme version.
So what can you tell us, guys, about that? I mean, we have cops, fairies, and orcs. At the first time that you talk about that, it's kind of a strange combination. But what is the story of Bright? I mean, we have two cops hunting for or fighting for.
So essentially the story and what was most attractive to me is Joel's character is the first orc on the police force. At the core of it, between our characters, is racism. So it was really interesting for me as an African American to play a character that's a racist cop against orcs.
Man, I'm not out here to be your friend. I need to know if shit pop up that you got my back.
So I love how David is playing on the different social castes and the social hierarchy of America. Whenever you can do it in that fantasy realm, you get to say things and do things that you wouldn't be able to if you were actually talking about the subject. So I loved being able to play around in that realm. Sort of Nick Nolte, Eddie Murphy in 48 Hours. That's in my mind. Nick Nolte is who I was thinking.
Cool. It's about how nobody gets to decide who you are. You get to decide who you want to be in life. Yep. You get to decide how you want to live your life. And society or nobody around you has the right to tell you what you can't be if you want to be something.
Absolutely.
Cool. And we say it's a buddy cop movie, a kind of a buddy cop movie. And you will have done already, I mean, Bad Boys and Men in Black. What Bright is different from all of these other movies?
What was really interesting to me about Bright is Bright is a really hard R. Well, it's on Netflix, so it doesn't count as rated R.
It's edgy, yeah.
It's edgy, but it's really rough, you know. it's funny in some parts, but it takes itself really seriously, and it's dark and it's gritty, but it blends worlds in a way that I loved it. You know, I'm really interested to see how fans react to it, because it's hard to describe, and it's really kind of bizarre.
Yeah. So Joel, your character, you have a makeup or was a mask? How it was to work with that? Because it's really it's not ugly, but it's weird.
Yeah, but have you seen me? I mean, you know, this you got to work with this, or you put a mask on me.
You are really handsome, Joel.
Thank you. I was in makeup for about 3 hours every morning.
Jeez.
And Will, he turned up about 10 minutes before cameras
pretty
roll,
much just like this.
And he's like this. It's like good to go.
Yeah, I felt bad. He had 3 hours plus. In the first, it was 3.5 hours.
Yeah, but I have to say, you know, about a month after we finished shooting, the guys, our makeup team, went off, and thanks to Suicide Squad, went off and took an Oscar. Yeah. So we had the best guys. You know, so the makeup is incredibly articulate, and it allowed me to sort of do a performance that really didn't require a lot of like the performance can show through the makeup in a way.
Sure. You could feel this guy's soul in the movie, and acting's a tough job, but acting, you know, with 4 pounds of rubber on your face is a very tough job. But you feel every nuance. You really weirdly forget that this isn't a real character you're watching. It's incredible. And he would show up without his makeup every now and then. I didn't recognize him.
I turned up on set towards the end of the shoot because I'd finished early, and I just wanted to say hi to everyone, and people looked at me like they'd never met me before.
Yeah, no idea who he was, because you see him so much every day with the makeup, and the makeup on his face was that thick, you know, so he was walking around with that on his face for months.
And some days I wasn't so happy.
He went, some days he was less than jolly.
Yeah, but it was like the whole process was worth it. I mean, it was a new thing for me to turn up to work and have a mask on my face. It was crazy, but you know, the results are, I think, very special.
Cool. David, you made a movie called Fury. It's awesome. It's an amazing movie, and we have a lot of action-packed scenes. I mean, and at the same time, we have a team with a lot of drama and a lot of challenges through the movie. We're gonna see that too in Bright with the 2 cops that we're hanging out through these 2 hours of movie.
It's these guys have to team up basically to save the world. If you know, you want to think about it that way. But first they have to get along. And in a lot of ways, that's their hardest challenge. And so much drama just comes from simply wanting them to be friends. And they get there in the end. And that's the real arc of the story. And I think everyone can relate to that.
How was to work with Netflix? I mean, it's a new company. We can say it's a recent company. But it made a lot of TV series that have a different format, and how it was different to work with Netflix and other bigger studios. It is.
Well, for me, there was really very little difference working with Netflix. Everything production-wise was just like a big feature film. There was nothing that felt different. I wasn't doing anything any different because it was Netflix, the size of the film, the commitment of the company to get it right. It's the same crews that we would use. So, you know, Netflix is making a very serious effort to make world-class cinema.
Yeah, it's a movie just like any other movie. I mean, we shot with the same lenses that Star Wars was shot on. You know, we used the most sophisticated camera system out there. We had a big crew. I had a lot of support. I also had a lot of creative support. You know, they let me have my vision, you know, but at the same time, you take everything you know as a director and just put it into something new, and they let me do that.
Cool. We were talking about that it's your first time. It's you guys' first time in São Paulo too? It's your first time in Brazil?
First time in Brazil for me. I've always wanted to come.
Cool.
I'm not leaving either.
We need to go. It's my first time in São Paulo, so we need to get out and like be in the streets tonight.
Yeah, you guys could. And what about in Los Angeles is a character in Bright, and you guys could make a movie here in Brazil to make São Paulo a character and 2 cops in Brazil. I don't know.
That would be great. So what
would be the
what
story?
the fans have to do is you guys have to let Netflix know that you want another Bright and that you want it shot in São Paulo. So if you make sure
idea.
Netflix knows you want us Bright 2 and you want it shot right here in São Paulo.
Cool.
They can make it happen.
Yeah, that's your mission right now. Guys, thank you very much for being here. It's such a great honor. Thank you.
Absolute
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.